Hello, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to another stream. I'll be your host today. My name is Dimitar, and I'm joined by George and Rami. Rami, George, do you want to say something about yourselves?
Sure, I'll start. So I'm Rami. I am a designer here at ThoughtBot. I am currently based in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Um, yeah, that's about it. Uh, George?
Cool. Well, I'm George, software developer at Thoughtbot, based in Brussels, Belgium. And yeah, I've never touched on whatever we're going to do today, so I'll be the comic relief and the curious questioner.
You're always the comic relief, George. Don't worry about that.
Oh.
Well, speaking of what we're doing today, we'll be working on the Thoughtbot website, a new section that's been designed but has not been implemented yet, and is not live. I'll share that second. So we have the main site, thoughtbot.com, and we have a subdomain which is design.thoughtbot.com, and this shows some of our design resources, specifically the design sprint guide. And we have more resources in mind, and actually I'll ask Rami about those because he was part of the initial prototyping. But we have more coming up. For example, these sections that are more than, so design sprints are one subsection of the new website, which is already live, although in a work in progress, open, like building in the open type of deal. And we want to add more and build it and ship it. So Rami, do you want to give us some background on how this came to be and what the vision is?
Yes, sure. So on the original website, thoughtbot.com, you had a section for design sprints. And I think a few team members wanted to revamp that and have the whole guide on its own subdomain or its own section of the website. And then we got into thinking, like, we also, as a design team, we are looking for a place where we, like us designers, can express ourselves, can show our work more prominently, use it as or a place where we can demonstrate that to the world. So we thought maybe we can merge the two ideas into a website on its own and called design.thoughtbot.com. The code name that we went with was design dot, and this is what we're working on right now. So this is the Figma file that you want, Demeter. It's called design dot. So right now we have these designs. They're just basic designs, not very comprehensive. We thought that we should go in, like, just have a basic framework and start developing that immediately instead of putting a lot of effort into high fidelity designs. So we have this Eleventy website right now that is half-baked design, I guess. Right now, I guess in this session, we want to kind of bring the Eleventy website. Eleventy is just a framework. I guess it's a JavaScript web framework. We want to bring it closer to the design that's done in Figma. Some of the features yeah, sure.
I'm interrupting just a second because I'm stuck on, I don't know what's a high fidelity design.
Well, high fidelity design, of course, you only know it because we don't really do that a lot in ThoughtBot, but I meant like something that's just pixel perfect. This is exactly how we want it to look, and then start implementing it.
Okay.
So we kind of skip that part. We don't really operate that way. So we just have a higher level design, and once we get into the development and the implementation, you can add the missing parts, if that makes sense. Like we didn't, like for example, we didn't add the pictures, for example. We didn't put a lot of effort into adding the banners and pictures and stuff like that.
But you develop the components separately?
You mean
Like it just
in code?
no, in design. Like it just is it how do you call it? Just like you have design systems where you design the components. Is that how you went about it? Or is it even more sketch?
No. Yeah, we have the Thoughtbot design system on GitHub. I think that's how we started doing this, sort of just following that and implementing this design.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I've interrupted when you were on about Eleventy because it's just like I don't know anything about design and it got stuck in my head.
No worries. So I'm just trying to gather my train of thoughts. So Design Dot, we put some time as a team into kind of like brainstorming different ideas of what we want Design Dot to have. And initially, the top 3 ideas that we agreed on was basically have a place to demonstrate our sprint, a design sprint, and the workflow of it, and the whole idea, and the different exercises, and a place where we can have our blog posts from the main blog to be pulled. So design specific blog posts on the Thoughtbot blog would be pulled into here. And then also we wanted to have some sort of AMA system where people can ask the design team different questions, and we answer them. If you scroll to the right, Dimitri, you would have a little bit more. Maybe zoom out a little bit. Yeah, there. So that's just a basic, I guess, wireframe of what an AMA should look like. So these are the basic 3 features right now. Currently, the project has, I believe, the homepage with some design implemented in it, but none of the functionality. So if I'm not mistaken, Dimitri, what we want to do today is kind of bring the design a little closer to the Figma, and also maybe the second hour of this session to do some of the functionality. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's what I thought. We could spend an hour. This is following our usual pairing practices where we spend maybe 1 hour or 2 hours together. Well, today it's 3 of us, so it's an ensemble programming session or ensemble design session. I thought after 1 hour we could take a short break and then switch topics to more of a let's call it a back-end focused development. But yeah, let's jump into it. We have this repository, and so by the way, what wanted to say about the website. So, of course, from a visitor's perspective, it's one single website, but there are different, let's call them different applications powering maybe the main experience on thoughtbot.com. There's something else for the blog, and there's something else for this design.thoughtbot subdomain. And on design.thoughtbot, we're using Eleventy, which I think is great because a lot of the content is static, but we'll also be able to bring in some dynamic bits, and we'll show this into the second hour using the data patterns of Eleventy. And yeah, so we have this repository here. Just a second to see what the dog wants. Maybe you can talk about among yourselves for a second.
This is where George's comic relief comes in. So can you...
No, I have nothing except that I'm just Eleventy. I'm curious about Eleventy. Like I just never used Eleventy. It's gonna be a new thing.
Have you ever used any JavaScript web framework before?
Yeah. So at the moment, I'm in love with Svelte. I could just pushing it all the time, everywhere. And
Yeah.
otherwise, my main experience is with React, like I guess
Yeah.
3/4 of the industry now.
Well, Eleventy is more of well, that's not a web framework. Well, I don't know about the naming, but it's more like Jekyll, I guess, in the Ruby world.
Okay.
It's a static site generator.
Cool.
Yeah. So let me show you what we have. We have this repository, right? And well, we have a command to start all the processes, and what it does, it's a bit hard to read all of the output, but it has an input directory and then an output directory. So here it's saying it's writing this file to, and I'm not sure we should even have the README, but that's another thing. Maybe that's some configuration we need to figure out. But let's say this one, it took index njk, which is nunjux, which is a templating system, and it generated the index.html and so on for subdirectories and so on. So this is our website running, and I can visit this, and here's the actual implementation, and we can also see that it looks a bit different than what we had in Figma, but that's going to be what we're doing today. And in another tab, I can open the content, and I think what's really nice about the workflow is that we have live reload. So if I change, how do I organize this better? Maybe a bit like this. Learn about our processes. If I say hello here, I get the very fast reload, and I think this kind of feedback loop is going to be very valuable when trying to implement the new design from Figma.
Nice.
So yeah, do we want to jump into it, or do we want to show more about maybe the structure of the project? I had a few questions, but I can delay them to a bit later on. Let's maybe, so Rami, how would you go about here? Do I put Figma side by side with the implementation? What do you want to do?
Maybe we start with that, just to kind of get a high level understanding of what is not accurate. But then once we identify something we want to implement, we just kind of put it away and go and to have the Vim browser dynamic instead of this.
Can I ask a tiny annoying question to just segue again? Cool. How do we deal with mobile responsiveness design-wise? Like, I have no idea. It's just is the big image. It's just How do we just? That's my simple question.
It's not as simple probably as it sounds, but like, do you mean like right now or in general?
It's just right. So for this project now.
Well, I can't really recall. Like a lot of people worked on this website, but I'm sure it's like in a lot of cases, mobile or mobile views were taken into consideration. So if Dimitar can go into the mobile view in the inspector, we can get a sense of where it's at right now. So
okay, cool.
it's not great, but it's not bad.
Is it something that we do at separately? Like, would it be on two different branches, or just like what would be the rhythm or the cycle design?
I think that's highly like personal. For me
Okay.
personally, I prefer to do mobile first, and
Yeah.
then look at the desktop. So
Okay.
historically, I guess before the proliferation of mobiles, people just do desktop, right?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
prefer to kind of flip it and just do mobile first, and then bring enlarge the screen and see how it looks on desktop.
But here on the Figma, we don't have a mobile
Yeah,
example.
we don't. Yeah, we don't.
Okay, cool. Cool. That was my annoying question. We can go back on my annoying segue.
Okay, so do you want to first tackle the mobile problem, or do you want to do the desktop first?
No, let's go with desktop since we don't have the design, and then maybe we can correct the mobile. I don't know.
Okay,
I have a
so
question about that. So that's a common thing. When we, I mean, the web is dynamic, and we have essentially unlimited sizes. You cannot predict the size of the devices that people are going to visit the website from. So you can never be sure. And so design tools like Figma, they cannot provide this flexibility. So even for communication purposes, we design one version to sort of give us an idea, but then we have to work towards the flexibility of adapting or being good enough for everywhere, right? So
yeah, that's what I
even
meant.
if we,
Sorry,
no, go ahead.
when I said we didn't do like any high fidelity, that's a big part where we didn't really look into mobile and like all the different views and iPads and tablets and all that. So we just have the desktop and thought, okay, once we implement this in code, we can make all these on-the-spot decisions on how a mobile view would look.
Right. So Rami, what would you like to do right now?
Let's look at the desktop for now. I just want to get a sense of like how far it is from. Is your browser? Yeah. Is this the default size?
So this would be the default size, but I guess I'm not sure. I guess, for example, here the text width or the element width is not exactly the same.
Third.
Yeah.
Looks like 2/3.
Could be, yeah.
So, okay, first of all, in the header, the color of the font is a little bit different, and maybe the font size is different.
Mm-hmm.
Even the logo might be different a little bit, but I'm not too concerned about the logo. If you scroll a little bit down, the header, I think if you increase the browser size, the header would go into 2 lines. It should flow back. No, I mean like increase the width of the.
Oh yeah, I thought so as well, but I don't know. Wait, now I'm zoomed in. If I reload, no.
If you inspect, can't you see the width of the element?
Yes, we could, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's something we need to fix.
Yeah.
Let's scroll a little bit down. Yeah, can you go back to the layout of side by side?
Sure.
So the banner seems fine. Yeah, I think it seems fine over here. Do you have this arrow over here? We don't have this arrow. This one over here. So that's maybe something we can look into. Yeah.
I'm amazed whenever the designer said it's not the right color, like as as a software developer, I see black. Black is black. It's just like the font is the same color. And
Yeah,
designers,
I mean, this is gray a little bit. This is very
yes,
black over here. I mean, if you don't
it's
see that,
grayish black. Trust
Also
But yeah,
for the audience, this might if we don't zoom in, it might not be very visible on the stream. So I'll try to zoom in a bit just for the sake of comparison. Although we cannot get it perfectly side by side. Yeah, that might look a bit. Might be easier to compare now.
yeah. And at least, George, do you see the difference in like?
yeah.
Not like in an abstract way. Do you see that how the one on the left with the grayish font actually looks a little bit better and maybe even easier to read, or not?
So easier to read, yes, but you have to ask a question. It's a funny one. Like it's just I'm still on my beginner journey on design, and just like you have to tell me, hey, it's easier to read, and I see it now that you say it, and yes, it is important that it's easier to read. But yeah, it's not something that comes instinctively at first. Like I do not think, and I think that on the right is good enough, which is just good enough is not enough. It's just the other side is better. The only thing that the only thing difference that I would say is that do not use that the name is on top on the left and below on the right, and that's the only thing I see. Like,
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking this maybe be something we can look at. Like this whole section over here is not
cool.
it's not the same. So you have the font over here is different. You have the name of the writer. I should go up here and it looks a lot different. Maybe even look into implementing the avatars. Maybe that should go into the second hour. But yeah, if we just focus on this part and try to make it work, I think that would be a very good use of our time. If we want to fit it in like 40 minutes before we go into like the backend stuff.
Sounds great. Then again, with the constraints of screens and so on, I'm not sure how we want to go about it because we have 3 things for comparison. So it's going to be a little bit tricky, but I'll give it my best. So where do we look first? Maybe we can give an overview. Well, that's too much here. I wanted to show you that, especially for George, who's never worked with Eleventy before, we have the site is the output directory, but
Okay.
includes, I think the includes is the input directory, and there's also some top level files like the index, and I guess even some of the subdirectories are in includes. Yeah, the sprint guide would be a subsection of the website, and then we have things like layouts or assets and so on. What we can see is maybe the structure of this includes. So we have some fonts, we have images, we have the images for the subsection, exactly, some SAS, and that would be interesting for me to understand a bit the organization of the SAS files. And then we have the layouts.
It's been a while since I touched this project, but maybe you look into components for this, or maybe look into the index and see how it's being rendered, and then.
So at the index, we're using this layout. So in Eleventy, you can have what's called front matter. It's a similar concept as as what you have in Markdown, but here the front matter can be, I think, either YAML or JSON, and we have a layout key here, and it's pointing to this file. So in layout space, we have the actual HTML, and I'm going to make this temporarily bigger because in this section we have only part of it. So I think, George, you're familiar with the system from Rails, which has a similar thing with layouts and content that goes into the layouts. So there should be something about a style sheet, which is in style CSS, and this is pointing to the output of the CSS, because the CSS file is not just one file. We have a collection of Sass format files. These get pre-processed, and maybe we can even see that there's a build Sass step which calls the Sass thing and gives it an output path, which is probably anyway. Yeah, that compiles the CSS. Is all I wanted to say.
Where's the yield in the layout base? Like the equivalent of yield in Rails. Where does it include?
I guess it's here. It's
content.
And
okay, cool.
So this is a filter, I believe. So you're in this templating language. This is where you put the dynamic part, these curly braces, and then you can have I guess it's called a variable, and then you can have filters. So one filter here is saying that this is safe HTML, because actually you're importing another file, right? So it could come from untrusted sources like comments on a blog or something like that, which you'd want to handle separately. But this is in source control, and we trust it and we can verify it. So we're marking it safe so that it renders it as HTML. Otherwise, you're going to get escaped. You're going to see actually less than H1 greater than in the website page, website content. Yeah, so that's that. And unfortunately, I don't have a syntax highlighting for nunchucks, and maybe I can find it, but I think we'll be okay.
Yeah.
The section that we wanted to look at was the blog, right? This part where it says latest.
So it's not here, is it? Okay.
Blog?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's here.
So over here, this should be dynamically generated, but it's now static.
Yeah, I have a branch for that actually, and this is what we're going to take a look in the second hour. And on that branch, I had also started importing some of the styles, but the comments I got on my pull request is that we don't want to stick to the letter to the Figma, because some of the values are, let's call them not necessarily on purpose. For example, say Figma has a tool, now I don't remember, how do you get back to?
Command dot,
so there's a developer mode in Figma, but even before that, you could kind of inspect things. And this is possibly too small for the stream, and I don't know how to zoom in just a section on the, no. But you have essentially CSS, and you can copy the CSS values, but they're very precise. For example, it's saying that the letter spacing is minus 0.03375 rem, and maybe we actually don't want the text to be as condensed. Maybe we want the default letter spacing, and
just 0.
Like sorry?
Just 0, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I think it's okay if we try to reproduce this now from scratch instead of going to that work in progress branch. I happen to know how this is styled because I worked on it previously. So there's this structure for the section. I guess it's called content, or it's wrapped in something called, there's a content wrapper. And then we have a content header, content title, content subtitle, and so on. How do you call this? Is this a component in terms of CSS organization?
Yeah, I guess you can call it that.
Yeah. Anyway, in the SAS part, there's the content SAS. And I'm not sure how to put them best side to side, but this would be what we're looking at. So if we wanted to style the part that was the text here, I think that strangely enough, this is not wrapped in anything. I guess it's, we can inspect that. Just
And you can give the p tag some sort of class.
Yeah.
Kind of like, you see, the subtitle has a class.
Yeah.
So maybe just use the same. I guess it's using BEM, which is like block element model, which is like a framework for naming CSS. So it has content underscore subtitle wrapper. So maybe we can put the P inside a div and give it same model. So the div would have content underscore, not subtitle, but what I mean, what do you call this? Like blog, something, or post?
Yeah. So in this section, I would call this an excerpt because it's an excerpt of a blog post.
That's a word.
Perfect.
But I was wondering something else. I seem to remember we used this content structure, let's call it a component, elsewhere. I think this is also a content something. And if we wanted to style those, they're styled the same way. So would they have the same classes is my question. And if yes, then do we want a more generic name for the class than excerpt?
Yeah, so same styling should be implemented on the actual post, where you actually have the full blog post. So yeah, I would just call it maybe post.
Just looking at.
Actually, yeah, even these also, it's not exclusive for blog posts, even the AMAs. Do we have a name for, sorry, do you have a name for the sprint guide? Because that's a little bit more developed, right?
Yeah, let's look at the sprint guide.
Nope.
No, we don't. I think this is default styling.
Yeah, okay.
Or when I say default, I mean it's a global style. Yeah, this is called the schedule section. No, it seems like we don't. Now that I think about it, maybe even for the AMA, this could also be an excerpt because it's an excerpt of a question. So maybe that's good enough, but maybe not generic enough. How do you feel about starting with this name and refining later?
That's fine.
Okay. So what do we do? I add something here, right? A new section, I guess, or a new CSS rule.
Yeah. Yeah, and just grab the color that we want.
Right. So again, the color here is a little bit small, but if we took this it would be this, but I bet we have some kind of tokens or some kind of system in place where the colors are centralized.
Maybe, yeah. But I just want to make sure that the CSS is being implemented.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely see a difference, especially because this one now is not wrapped in the same class, and the color is slightly darker than this one.
Yeah. So now let's go hunt down the actual color in SAS files.
Yeah. Sure. So some of this seems to come from the Thoughtbot design system.
Yeah.
Which is a different package, right? Or different something, different source repository.
So the variable TBS brand red is imported?
Yeah. Maybe we should look into the repository of the Thoughtbot design system.
Yeah. Hold on. Repository of the Thoughtbot design system. Do you have a link to that?
Just a second. Okay. Sent it to the private chat.
Thank you. And this one is even public, I guess, open source. Okay, so what are we looking at here?
Let's see if there's a color system that we can import. Can you go to maybe the README? This might expose our lack of work on proper documentation.
That's nice. But we're here to improve all of these things, right?
Yep. So it doesn't seem like there's a documentation. Yeah, so maybe just jump. Yeah.
What if we looked for this variable?
Exactly.
Oh, I might have found it. So if you go in settings, in sources.
There you go.
So there's a README, I guess, here in settings.
So the colors, yeah. Can you scroll a little bit more just to get a full view of all the colors?
Yes, you mean the color palette variables?
Yeah. So it's one of the grays.
Mm-hmm.
Can you go to Figma?
Sure.
And just let's look at the. Is there a way to change this color value to a hex?
We might. If you want, you can jump into the Figma directly, or take over my cursor here, or have a second cursor to interact.
Yeah. So this is design mode. Is there a way you can change this? No.
But perhaps in the default mode, the non-design mode, you can.
Yeah, it's 60. Like it's black at 60 opacity. Which, okay, so maybe what we can do is just kind of look at this and, oh, that's like.
I saw a 666.
Yeah, 7 and 6. Or maybe you should do it the other way around. Yeah, it's maybe this one.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just copy this, and I mean, this is really like a scrappy way of doing it. Let's just, I guess, add a box and color it whatever we got from here. What is it? Can we copy it? Ah, is this copying from your? or from mine. Let's see.
Okay,
can you do
do
it?
that?
67676E.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's Tupo messing up with our. Is that right?
You remove the hashtag. Okay, yeah. So yeah, it seems like okay. Yeah, it seems like it's the color that we want, medium.
Yeah. So this is this. Although this is different value, this is close enough that it will still look good, and it would be within our design system, right?
Yeah, actually, we would be following the actual design system. Maybe paste it over here.
Mm-hmm.
Remove the hashtag. Okay. Free float.
And be at 100
Yeah.
opacity, or just remove
Yeah.
the opacity.
No, 100. Yeah. So, and then just undo a few times. You'll see that it's almost the same. So.
Well, okay. Let's do a proper comparison. So we have this at. We could also try to compare it to the one above. I don't know. There's a slight difference for sure, but
it's a difference we are willing to sacrifice, I think.
Yeah.
For the sake of just keeping this in the thoughtbot design system.
Yeah, I was also going to say, this to me will bring out some maybe contrast comparison tools, but this seems to me a little bit more readable. This gray is almost too light, or this one. We'll get to it later once we implement it.
Yeah. So let's just copy this. So it's the light one.
Yeah. Do we? So we put it not. So we're not really. Do we want to how do you call this? Re-export or redefine any colors here? Or do I put in directly the value?
So the way it's implemented in the other file is it's having this class, attaching it to this, right? So maybe you should just follow the same.
Yeah, so this is more of a utility, I guess. We would, instead of, we would then, okay, so what you're saying is if we had this, we would have color, and then I would put it here directly, TBDS.
Yeah.
Without this. Right.
But in this case, you would have to add it to every div.
Yeah.
As a class. But if we're going to do it in a component system, then that won't be a problem.
So we add it to the content excerpt.
If we add it, yeah, this way we can make sure it's always working and remove the class from the markup.
So usually I have a, let's try this, but I'm afraid the windows might be a little too small. I have a window manager that would give us all the space we want, but it's kind of.
Okay.
Okay.
So the color changed. Now we can look into the font weight.
So this one looks like a medium to me, or even a thin one. Again, we can go into here. And sorry for all of you watching on the stream. This might be too small a text. And this is font weight of 400. I wonder. Is that usually not the default? Now I broke it because I forgot a comma. Yeah, this seems the default. Could it be that the size is playing some kind of role here? The text size, I mean. Or could it be also the rendering within the browser compared to the rendering in Figma?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
So I'm wondering if I open in Chrome and or Safari or something. Let me bring a Chrome window over here. Oh, and I'm rather zoomed in as well, so that might be a thing. Sorry, now I have too many windows. I'm wondering if there's a difference in rendering between Chrome and Firefox, for example, and then in
So
Figma itself.
which is Firefox?
Firefox is this one that's on the top, and this is Chrome. And they look pretty much the same to me, and they look different compared to Figma here.
So what's the font weight on the browsers?
It should be
It's 400 also.
Yeah. I'll close this one for clarity here.
Can we inspect just to be sure?
Yeah. There's a thing you can do in the DevTools, which is you can even check the computed values.
Yeah.
And the font weight is 400.
Good.
Okay, what does 300 look like?
Give me just a second. Shall I guess I can do it by changing the CSS. I was going to check it in the browser, but because we have this good live reloading, that looks kind of nice. Scrolling to the right section because I lost my spot. So you were saying 300.
That looks a little better, I think. Is this the default zoom for the browser?
Also, the size is a little bit different. Yeah, this we're now at default zoom size in the browser, but the font is, I think, a little bit smaller than this one. So for this one, it says it's supposed to be 1.6 rem. And this one is 1.2 rem.
We have a comment in the section asking that, or just telling us that if we use HTML classes, making use of Tailwind might be the way to go.
Yeah, but right now we're not doing that. We actually removed the classes and just started doing the styles directly into Sass.
It would be too much, yeah, to switch to Tailwind.
Yeah. For now, I mean,
I guess that's a larger discussion, but the stage of this project does not require Tailwind, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, all of us played around with this project, but it's been a while. So we're not really up to date on where we stand. So we just want to get our feet wet first, and then decide on these bigger questions.
And I guess that since we already have our design system, just switching to Tailwind would be a.
Okay, so what I'll do is actually, since we don't need to You know what? What I'll just do is find the other section so that they're all styled the same. It was in the anonymous design inspiration. Just want to wrap all of this the same way. And then once I have that, I'll also close this so that we have more breathing space for the code and the preview. Okay, so we were saying that the font size might be different. What if we, for the sake of checking things out, we put a 1.6 here? It's not exactly 1.6. But does that do anything? I guess it didn't impact. Let's do font size 100 pixels just for to exaggerate it so that it doesn't do anything.
So is the output of the CSS change? No, because it did change the brown gray light. That's a funny one.
No, but it's probably being overwritten by another style if you inspect it.
Yeah, I think our friend the Cascade is here again.
Yeah, so it's overwritten by the typography, I guess.
Could be, yeah. Yes.
How come?
George, I think it has higher precedence. So the content excerpt is a parent element of the P element here.
Oh yeah, okay.
And then the style of the element itself is more specific than the style of the parent.
Okay, cool.
If we
add the class on the P element, then
that might look a bit different.
Just give it like 5 RAM. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely get changed. Nice. Hold on, rearranging again. So this was 1.6, more or less. Okay, so here's a question. Again, here what I see is 1.687 something. Do we want to go this precise value? Where does this value come from? Is there a system for it?
What I just realized, maybe we just follow the Thoughtbot design system. If you go to GitHub repo, just look if they have if we have font sizes. There you go. We have 400. You just have these 3.
Mm-hmm.
But we're doing 300, right? But this is for font weight. Is there font sizes?
There
no, we don't.
Be size. Oops, no, I don't see that. Or I couldn't find anything here, but that's the settings. Let's quickly look at the typography within this project.
You have the P. You can go a little bit more down.
Yeah.
There, a little bit up. Line 70, oh, sorry, 56 maybe. There was a P.
Here it is, yeah.
Yeah, so it's by default 1.2, and we want to override that, right?
Can you say that again?
We want to override this.
Probably, yeah. Do we override it the way I did with adding here more specificity to the rule, or how do you want to do it? I guess that's the only way here, because we don't want to override it for, we don't want this value globally for all p tags. We want it for this specific section.
Yeah, for the sake of time, I would just keep it this way and just power through a little bit more.
Sure.
And then,
honestly,
I'm really enjoying this. I would love to do this every week. So maybe if we do that during this week, we can kind of decide on all these bigger structural questions.
Yeah.
I would just keep it at 1.6875, though it's ugly, but it's, I don't want to put it at 1.7 because this feels wrong, because you're just moving a whole degree of significance.
And boom. It's maybe the dev talking here, but what about putting it in the variable in the typography file?
Yeah, again, like we need to decide on these.
That would be a big, yeah, okay, cool.
All right, we're coming to close on hour, so I suggest that we take a 5-minute break. And we will be back to answer some of the questions in the chat and continue with either this or a bit more dynamic insertion of content.
Super. Cool. Talk to you soon.
See you in 5.
Maybe put some music.
welcome back, George.
Okay, thank you. I hated that music.
We can put something else on.
No, that's
We have
okay.
a library of what do you call it? License? No, that of music that we can use without licensing restrictions.
But that was good. Like there's hate is good. Hate gives you power. That's what I've learned from Star Wars.
Okay, welcome back, Rami.
Thank you.
We had a few questions. Oh, sorry that we couldn't answer this live, and the person already left. But still, what do we make of this? What's your plan for the AMA section?
Can you remove the backend 5?
Yes, I can.
Sorry, I would have done, but
the designer always looking at these details.
Okay.
For hours on that JavaScript to make the banner just appear and disappear, and then
I'm giving you a death stare right now.
I see that. I'm sorry. Just you're
Okay,
right.
so how do we want to handle this? It's dynamic. Not sure Eleventy can handle that. There is something we can do, and that is using Eleventy data, which is actually a good segue into our second section, because what you can do with Eleventy data is you can pull in dynamic content from somewhere else. And correct me if I'm wrong, let me know, Rami, but we don't need the question and answers to be live in the sense of live comments or something like that. We can regularly regenerate the website or on demand when there are new questions or new answers. We update the website and we put that there.
Yes.
So it would still be a static website of sorts.
Yeah.
But we would separate the templates from the actual data that is powering this section of the website. So one example could be this kind of global data file that you can have. So it's a JavaScript file you have in your repository, and it can export a data structure. Mm-hmm. So this data structure you can get from somewhere, and even more, to make it more concrete, you can have a JavaScript data file that actually imports the data from a different API. I'll show an example very soon to make it more concrete, but that's the idea. You export a function, and the function returns some data. Now, how you get the data, whether you hard code it like here, or if you fetch it from disk, from an API, from I can't think of anything else right now. If you get it from these places, then you can return this data. This will get run at build time of the website, and then you have the content static.
Mm-hmm. Would this solution also cover the posting the question or submitting a question?
I don't think so. So for posting the question, what we can do is, well, we're still at the design phase of this. We could have either a form, an actual form on the website, and this can post the data to some third-party service. Maybe it's an existing application that we have, or maybe it's one of those services like FormKeep that gets the form submissions.
Mm-hmm.
And then we could pull it from that. But usually when you have comments or any user input or user-generated content, you want to do some moderation as well. Just check if it follows guidelines. It doesn't. There's no hate speech or anything like that. And so you would not do it you would not always do it automatically anyhow. So there might be a review section in the middle.
Yeah.
Or the other way is you can use any other kind of thing, like a Google form for the. So getting input is one way, and presenting that that question and answer format is something else.
Okay, so I hope that answers the question for death. Do you want to tackle that, or we want to go back to the blog posts and loading the blog posts dynamically?
Sure, I can show you what I had already started. In fact, I have a branch here. So there was an issue that the content of the blog posts is hard-coded. And hold on just a second. I can hear myself, so I don't know if we have a little bit of feedback going.
We don't hear you. We're just double.
Okay.
But that's good.
All right. Here's now. There's a backend implementation of this in the repository, in the application that serves our blog posts, and we have an RSS feed. And the idea would be to, for this part here, we could get the data from RSS, because this is a sort of like a public API. RSS is available to everyone. So we could reuse the same format to get the latest blog posts and display them here. There was more of a conceptual consideration whether featured blog posts are also just part of the latest, or if there's something more going on. But this is something we can decide on.
Can we filter on the RSS with using hashtags? So hashtag design or hashtag web design or something?
Yeah, so this is kind of what I did. And again, going back, maybe I can show the code here first, the diff. For now, I had hard-coded the URL actually, but what we have is this kind of structure where we have the general RSS feed, but we also have an RSS feed per section. And unfortunately, this change requires also a change in the backend. I'll explain in a second. But here we have a feed with no blog posts. But it is only the design section of the blog. The reason why there's no posts here is that by default, or the current implementation of our RSS feed only returns articles from the last week. So I'm not quite sure how RSS clients treat this. I guess from the moment you subscribe to the feed in your client, you get posts from the previous 7 days. And then in a week, if there are more posts, the client would download those and would add them to your local copy of the data. But we don't download historical data. So we're not here in the RSS feed, we're not exposing all of the design posts since the beginning of the blog in 2007 or what have you. And this can be a little bit of a problem if you want to get the latest posts in an automated way for the section that we're building now. And this is why I had implemented this part, which I don't need to show all of the code, but well, no, this is hard to read on GitHub. But by design, what I wanted to do is kind of add either a new endpoint or a parameter to existing endpoint and say, let me get the last n articles, and then I'm guaranteed to always get these articles. Make sense so far?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to at least save this in a branch. I don't know what to name it, and also I don't really need to give the commit message. I can think about this later. Let me go back to here, to the main branch, and look at what... I think I want to go to this branch, fetch blog posts. And in here, you'll see that I'm using something like this pattern I talked about, the JavaScript file pattern in Eleventy. So I'm exporting a function that returns some data and returns data with two keys, latest and featured. Latest is for the blog post here on the left. Oh, and now because I switched the branch, well, we're seeing a bug currently, but it's this one, and then the featured blog posts are under a different key. Here, featured. And let me quickly walk you through the code for some context. We are getting the feed. We are actually, we configure what is the source of our information. We fetch that using Eleventy fetch, and then we parse and return the formatted data. Eleventy fetch is a, what's the word, plugin for Eleventy. It's something that does caching of the data for you, so it's very convenient. During development, it's going to keep a copy of what you've downloaded, and I don't know what the expiration policy is, but I don't. My Eleventy project running locally doesn't re-download this feed at every rendering. It keeps it on disk for a while. Then we have a parser. So this kind of parser is an RSS parser. And then my first version was getting the RSS and getting the summaries. There's two kinds of feeds. There's the so here's the feed for the blog in general that gives you some ideas of the content. So not necessarily design-related content, but RSS content nonetheless. Here we have an entry, and the entry has a title, has a content section, which is the actual HTML, or at least I'm not sure if it's the whole blog post or only part of it, but you can see these HTML tags inside the content. And we also have a summary section. And initially I was thinking of getting the summary for the excerpt, which is text only, it's not HTML. But the summary is not always what we want to show. And I got from the Figma, was that we actually want to show maybe the beginning of the post here. And so the second iteration was, why don't we get the content section, then parse the HTML and get the first paragraph.
Yeah.
This is what's
sorry, but
here.
I might have missed it, but is there any categorization in the RSS feed? How can we differentiate a design post from anything else?
In the URL, I think, like before in the URL, Dimitar had blog/design/feed.
Yeah. So you can do you can filter per category, kind of here.
Okay.
These URLs are the base ones, and the thing with the limit is my work in progress or my idea how to expose the data in a different way. We can maybe have a different endpoint, something we still need to consider. But yes, what I'm showing here is just for demonstration purposes right now, would give us all of the blog posts, and with /design, it would give us only those tagged design. And what am I even talking about? We're only looking at the RSS feeds, but essentially you click on design and you get only those tagged design. And this is, I guess this is what we want for the design dot section of the website.
Yeah.
Can I make two things? First, for the design, we're gonna have a problem because we're not on the blog. We don't have the pictures of the authors. That's not fetchable. Second thing, I had a question about Eleventy. So does that mean that there's only this module, this function, and so everything, all the data that we'll need to import will be fetched in this function?
It doesn't need to be, it's flexible. So sorry, let me go back to your first question. I think you are correct that the RSS feed does not include the pictures. And so this is something that we have to figure out how to do.
I'm not sure we have our pictures publicly for everybody.
Yeah, that's something, even on the blog, we don't show them, right? Even on the authors page.
No, we don't, but we have our team page.
Not every, yeah, but not every blog writer is on the team showing, but
yeah, because like the team page only has people who've opted in, having their name or picture published. So if we're going to do that,
it's too beautiful to be there. I would break the website.
So we either remove the avatars or use that page, and if somebody does not exist or does not exist, basically we'd have like a default avatar.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Something I would say from a pragmatic standpoint, what we could say is that because it's not easy to implement the avatars, and also there's let's call it a privacy concern that not everyone might agree to have their picture. We could tweak or remove the pictures in the implementation, or have these placeholders and ship that as a first version.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was even thinking some of the blog posts might be or in the future, some of the blog posts would be by people who no longer work at Thoughtbot, and they might. So at the time they wrote the blog post, their picture was not on the blog, but then they can no longer give their consent and we use their picture. That's not good. So yeah, I would postpone this problem.
Yeah. Good. When I designed this, all of these really important issues never really occurred to me.
Yeah.
And that's why we don't do, one of the reasons we don't do high resolution or mockups.
Yeah. Right. So going back into the code, yeah, we parse the RSS. This could be better named, but we parse the feed, and then for each item we return some formatted data. I thought we don't need every section returned by the RSS feed. We want an author, we want the title of the post, we want the date at which it was published, and then a link to the post. I did 2 formatting changes. One is to format the date, the date in the RSS feed is with the in this kind of format, which is, I think this is ISO 8601. I might be confusing the names. Anyway, there's a standard formatting here for timestamps. Of course, we don't want to show it like this in the the user or the human visible section of the website. So I used a parse the date using the JavaScript date part of the standard library, and then you can do a to locale date string. And I made the assumption that the web page would be in English, and as a shortcut, I took even the US English locale, and then formatted as well. And we want a numeric year, a short version of the month, so November would be NOV, I think, NOV, and then the day would be numeric. So going back to an example, I don't see it actually. Yeah, because we don't have the data. Let me cheat, and we know that we have posts from non-design content this week, just to regenerate and show you how it looks. So I think Eleventy watches the files that you're modifying, but it usually we usually modify the content files, but sorry, the template files. But now I modified how we fetch the data. So I'm not sure that it might be that I need to restart.
Cache.
You have an error also.
Yeah, I had an error. Then we recovered. Maybe that got it tripped up. Here, yeah. And yeah, this is what I was saying about the dates, that now we have November NOV 13 2023, which I think corresponds to what we had in the design in terms of content, not in terms of styling. Right. And the next thing was getting this first paragraph. So I used a HTML parser library, and we'd have to look at the documentation to see how this is exactly implemented. But from the content that we download, so this, we get the first child, which is I think this is kind of the anyway, and then we get the
Do we want to do it that way, or do we want to actually have it limit to a maximum number of characters? Because if you have a very short paragraph, you would have a very short excerpt, which will not look good. So maybe fetch everything and just basically put a character limit and throw everything after that.
Yeah, that's a good point. So there's two problems with it that I can see. One is this is HTML. So if you consider taking the raw text and if you cut it here, you have an open p tag but no closing p tag, which might be correctly rendered by the browser, but would be technically invalid HTML, and maybe it doesn't cause any problems. I think that if you write just an open p tag, the browser can, all of the major browsers can handle that, but sometimes it leads to strange styling situations. So it's a little bit unpredictable. The more complicated way would be, I guess, to what you're saying, get maybe more content and try to fit how much content we want.
Yep.
So
so if
saying
the first paragraph,
we count the characters in the paragraphs or something like that.
And can
Go
I?
ahead,
And
George.
why? Yeah, why not taking the full article and using CSS to do the cutting for us?
Yeah, this is also something I tried, and I think I actually have it as a. I tried to use a clamp,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure this works, or it didn't work for me, and I only had maybe a minute to implement it, so I haven't
Yeah.
figured out if I'm doing the right prefixing. The having CSS do it for us works for text that is too long, but it doesn't solve the problem of text that is too short.
Too short. Yeah.
Why? Like, would there be a blog post that consists of only one sentence?
I think we might have one or two.
Just one sentence?
It's just
Yeah, I see what you're
haikus blog
saying.
posts.
So you would want to include all of the multiple paragraphs or the whole content, but then hide it with CSS. How would that work with screen readers, for example? Because the clamping is it only a visual concern, or is it? I guess I would have to try it with a screen reader.
That is a Googleable question. Let me see.
My guess is like, yeah, most CSS classes are accessible friendly, no?
Maybe I can rephrase what I mean. Right now, here visually, we have latest blog. We have a title, and then we have 2 sentences.
Yeah.
If we included more content, let's say there's a whole other paragraph beneath, but visually it's hidden because we say we only want 3 or 4 lines of content. That part of it that is hidden by clamp it would still be on the page. So would the screen reader read past this last word and continue with the visually hidden content, or would it also ignore it because it's visually hidden? So yeah, I don't have a screen reader set up here. I guess there would be on macOS, but I haven't prepared it for this stream. So this is something that I'd want to look into, maybe if we do a follow-up stream on the topic. Remy, what does your research say?
I'm still unable to determine, but it seems like it is it's addressed. We just need to kind of dig a little bit deeper and experiment a little bit with the code and an actual screen reader. But it is something that's been discussed offline.
Nice. I am the more direct problem I have is that I can't seem to get it working, actually. Maybe I'm using the wrong property. Do we want to play a little bit with that? It says, so I say line clamp 3, which is, I guess, 3 lines, or let's put it to 1 line. But
it's not working.
Not working. So I don't know if it's maybe can I use .com?
But you changed branches, right?
I did change branches, but let me do it like this: border 1 pixel solid red shows as 1 pixel solid red. So we are modifying this CSS property here.
And this is Firefox, right?
This is Firefox. Use in combination with display WebKit box.
Are you using clamp or line clamp?
I'm using a line clamp, or is it supposed to be just called clamp?
Okay. Yeah, sorry. I kind of misremembered. I thought you just had clamp. I don't know if that even is a CSS part.
We can also try it in the inspector, I guess, with some inline styles. So this is not valid.
Maybe you can't. I mean, it doesn't really give you any feedback, but can you implement it on inline display?
Can you?
Let me Google it. Sorry.
I didn't quite get that.
No, I'm just saying maybe it's conflicting with the display.
Right.
Inline.
Yeah, so the display inline, I want to explain that as well. I was pairing with another designer, and the problem was, so in the, if you, it doesn't show it like this with a larger window. We're getting the paragraph from one place and we're putting it in a div, I guess, and then separately the continue reading is something that we are adding after that, but it's not part of the same p tag, and the p tag has a default display value of block, I believe, and we change it to inline to make the link appear on the same line, even though it's not part of the paragraph element.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, certainly something we can try. But yeah, a line clamp of 1 doesn't work.
Does it work on Chrome?
That would be a good question. Again, we could play with it in the console.
Can you add WebKit's line clamp? Okay. So does that do anything? No.
And overflow hidden, adding below.
Yeah, it says something here that display WebKit box.
Oh yeah.
But
and then you have the ellipsis part.
Yeah. But this we can. Yeah, I'm finding it very suspicious. Let me copy those to the implementation here. So this doesn't seem to have an effect in Chrome, and it doesn't seem to have an effect in Firefox either.
And an overflow hidden, just. No, that's so weird.
Again, although it says it's, I mean, that's a more, it's more time for line clamp none. How does it? It must be greater than 0.
Oh, the WebKit box orient. And maybe, yeah.
Could be. What if
that we don't have?
Do they allow to change this? Yeah, they do. Okay, so ellipsis will be, yeah, that's displayed properly. Can we do a line clamp of 1? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But you have the box orient.
Yeah. So WebKit display box. Oh, but there's not even, they don't even put an ellipsis there. So how does that look? Okay, now it works.
Yeah. So we were missing the vertical thing.
Mhm.
Sorry, and the overflow. Like what were we doing wrong?
I had only line clamp, so that doesn't work. It needs to be prefixed.
Mm-hmm.
And it also needs this.
Mm-hmm.
Does it need the display property? Yes, it
Yeah.
does. So it needs all three of them.
And the overflow.
And that's
Yeah.
ouch. And at a higher level, we didn't go straight to the documentation. That's what we did wrong. From what I read, though, line clamp is not friendly to screen readers. Screen readers really read everything.
Yeah. By default, but are there like workarounds or things to add to make it work?
Mm. The-
It seems to me like we cannot ship this if we're unsure or before we test it. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm also a little bit concerned about the browser support. So what did it say about different browsers? I guess, was it? Yeah, it's the second one. It seems to have decent support, although some older browsers don't have it. My question is, do we consider this more of an enhancement or a core functionality, a core feature?
The clamping part.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want the full blog post here. You need to truncate.
Yes.
But we had 3 ways before getting into down this clamp rabbit hole. We discussed 3 methods, and the clamping was the easiest.
Mm.
But it seems also there are some gotchas in there.
Yeah. So that needs some extra testing then.
Yeah.
And also, here we're kind of losing this continue reading link inline, which could maybe be done in a different way. I'm not quite sure.
Can you bring back the display inline? Oh, okay, it's never mind. It will be overridden by this one.
Yeah, exactly. But perhaps maybe no, that wouldn't be good. I think we need, okay, let me get back to the actual markup. And it's called blog. Yeah, so the paragraph ends up here, and then we have the span. I think we would want the div to be, well, a div or to be inline block, but then that messed up the indentation. But I'm putting a div to preserve the overall block-like structure of this section here. But then I want to change the display of the excerpt itself here. What if we said this is display inline?
Oh.
No. Oh, no, but it couldn't because the paragraph is what needs to be display inline. Okay, so other way around. What if we kept... What if we kept a div here? I know these are kind of wrong, but I just want
give the wrapper to the parent.
Yes, but I have to change more rules now. I just wanted to check it quickly, but let's call this just test. But you're absolutely right about the structure. So now we want the, I need to close this. We want the test to be
inline.
Inline. Was it inline or inline block? Just inline. Does the rule apply? Yeah.
Can I just look at the structure just a bit? Yeah. So you have, I'm trying to get, okay, so you have these two, right? This is, okay. So span is the continue, and the paragraph is this, but it is outside of the div of the text, right?
Let me check something quickly. Yes, it's outside of this div. Yes.
So it will not work. Can you put it inside of this test? Is that possible?
I mean, I have, and it should have reloaded, but
okay.
Oh, but yeah, no, that wouldn't work because the reason it wouldn't work is because the parent, so the container of both of them is display inline, but we actually want this part to be display inline, which seems okay, that's a CSS question. Can a child of a display inline element be display block?
Can you repeat that question?
All right. So we have a parent element. The parent element is, okay, let's go to an easier example. We have a div here. This one has display block. The span one, for example, has by default display inline. What if one wanted to have another div here, would that be, I mean,
inside the span?
Yeah, is that valid HTML? And CSS wise, layout wise, can a block level element be a child of an inline level element?
I don't know, but if I had to guess, it would be valid.
Okay.
And would be in line within that element, right? No, it's not. But because div is a block, so
Yeah.
it's not going to be implemented on it.
Yeah. I think the problem, or what I perceive as the problem, is we want the paragraph to be in line, but we want the text in the paragraph to be clamped. So maybe there's a way to have, okay, if I had a nested thing here, how does that work? Can we, I guess I could remove the dynamic content for a second and go back to what we wanted to achieve. So I'm just going to take some longer text. Okay, taking this having this in mind. So this is the situation we had before, and even removing one more level, because the P is because the paragraph element is WebKit box, it doesn't work. If we remove that, now I'm very confused. Okay, here we go.
Can you show me the Figma? I'm not sure I get what's here.
What we're even doing? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. We're trying to implement this kind of thing.
Yeah. What I usually do is kind of experiment, and
but isn't it the sorry, yeah, isn't it the problem of the paragraph? Isn't it just that paragraph is always pushing stuff away?
Yeah, because the paragraph is a block element, and it will push this part down. It will wrap it. So we're trying to keep it on the same line. That's what we're trying to do.
Why keep it as a paragraph then?
Because that's the semantic HTML, because it is a paragraph.
We can't, yeah. A span, what would a span do?
I think we can't, so the paragraph comes from the source content. We don't exactly control what it is. I guess we could try with a span, and we could maybe somehow modify the content as it comes in. Let's quickly test it for the sake of. So that's in line, right?
Yeah.
Of course, it doesn't have this rule anymore because we. And that.
Now we have a WebKit box.
So, but it's not implementing.
Yeah.
So it's working, right? So that's a nice way of reverse engineering this. And basically what we wanted to do maybe is change the paragraph into an inline element, right?
But I'm not sure it's working.
Oh, it's not. It was working.
Yeah.
Because if it was, I guess we can't quite test it unless we, so what if we removed all of this?
No.
And this section that has
an
inline. You want me to remove this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So, but it was on the same line. He did something that had the continue reading on the same line. What did he do?
This was when so here we lost the clamp because it was targeting a P element, but now we have a span. So
Okay.
yes, now we have two inline elements, and this is the previous behavior. But if we want both the inline behavior and the line clamp behavior, it's not going to work.
I'm sure there is a way.
Yeah. And now I'm asking myself from like how it looks here, for example, if the continue reading is always on the next line, but we have a small number of lines, is that an acceptable trade-off?
Right now it looks fine. I'm just trying to think of edge cases where it might not look so good.
Mm-hmm.
It is an acceptable trade-off, but I also feel it's not that big of a issue, that the solution is quite straightforward and it's staring at us straight in the eye, but we didn't find it yet, you know? I mean, it's probably very easy to do. You just not figured it out.
So with about 5 minutes left, what do we want to do before we wrap up?
Yeah, I feel like the second hour was more about like the back end and functionality, and we kind of slipped into more of design work, which is fine, but like what's there to do from a dynamic from the dynamic part of this application?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I want to get out the sorry.
They do go hand in hand, I think, because we're thinking of something which is, we saw that it can be a front end only issue, but if we cannot, for example, if clamp didn't exist, we would have had to implement this in the parsing of the data or how we get the data. And so it is kind of a backend concern as well, in a sense.
But we also have to confirm that clamp works with screen readers.
Exactly.
So from the research, if you add aria hidden true and text overflow ellipsis on your class, it should be screen reader friendly.
All right. Again, something to be tested. I guess
to be tested. Yeah, we don't have time.
Yeah.
So, do we want to do this every week or every 2 weeks?
Definitely.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll probably be a lot more prepared next time.
I don't want to be prepared. That's homework. No.
Oh, just do research a little bit. At least have a screen reader installed or something. Yeah. Do you want to do it every Wednesday, same time, or?
I think it's something we can figure out after the stream, and we'll announce it to people.
Cool.
For now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, George.
No, I'm just curious. Like, can you quickly show where do blog posts come from?
Yes, blog posts come from this repository called MetroD. It is the blog engine, sort of.
Oh yeah, no, that's okay. I just meant in Eleventy, we have the module exports.
Mm-hmm.
We have the features and the thing, and it's just like I feel like they've missed a step between the module exports and the function, and here the variable. Or it's just we can use that blog post is available everywhere.
Yeah. Okay. Let me go back to. Let me go back to this. It looks slightly wrong, or did it now? Did it now crash? No, it's. Oh, and we still have this test here. You know what I'm going to do is reset everything except in the blog posts. We wanted to display all of the blog posts for demo purposes. And okay, so that works. In here, we have a loop somewhere. So remember how I exported it as featured posts and latest posts? So there's two. Here, for the latest blog post, I get the blog post.latest, the title, the author, the date.
But the variable blog post is just accessible because it's in module exports.
Yes, it comes, I believe it comes from the name of the file. So had I named this blog post camel case, for example, with camel case or just posts, it would have been accessible as posts. And
okay,
this
that was
is a global
cool.
data file in Eleventy parlance.
Cool.
It's kind of
cool.
And for the other one, we have a for loop here. Here it is. So in blog post.featured, so the collection in the data structure that presents the blog posts, we have a feature post. And so we loop over these feature posts and display the ones here on the right.
Cool. Thank you. Sure.
But yes, I think we're now at time. So it's also time for us to go back to our client projects, which is a good reminder that we had thought about are not only working on our own website, but other people's websites, applications, and so forth. You can get in touch with us to hire us for feature work, for design work, for development. And that's it for today. We'll be back soon with a new live stream. It might be the three of us, or maybe Chad is streaming this week or next week.
On a different
we'll
project.
keep you posted on a different project. We'll keep you posted on social media, and see you soon.
Thank you, Dimitri. Thank you, Rami.
Bye-bye.